All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Pod CCA. I did it again. I did it again. I'm never gonna stop doing it. It's podcast. It's just podcast. This is gonna become an awful bit. Um, but yeah, a lot has happened the past week. We had the first CCA qualifier of the new CCA circuit.
Mhm.
And we've also had quite a few interesting outcomes from said circuit. Looking at quite a few things that we're going to be talking about today in particular. And we also have an exciting interview with Ark Halley coming up as well as a part of this episode. But I think we have some faces here that we're going to want to introduce and say hello to. So, hi, SPF Dark. How are you doing today?
I am very excited to be here. Most of you might know, but I've been casting for about 3 seasons now at this point, and this is my first appearance here at the podcast. So I'm only like, I'm just giddy to be able to like do something like this with you guys now.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Um, you're like amazing commentators, so having
Oh,
your opinion
thank
here
you.
too, it'll be really fun to see. And then of course we also have the lovely DRF who uh is with us here too today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to get to talk about Qualifier 1 and everything that we've gathered from it because there is a lot to say, and we're going to try to do this as quickly as possible and try not to drag this on like we normally do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like with our normal episodes in the past CCA League seasons, we have tended to go a bit long just because of how much there is to cover. Especially when, like last season, there were over 130 teams. But with this qualifier, it was a one-day event. And uh, DRF, I think you might have a bit more to say about that with our announcements here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go right into the announcements, like you mentioned, OmaZen. So yes, CCA Circuit Qualifier 1 was this past Saturday, featuring 99 collegiate Splatoon teams competing in the event across the 4 divisions. This is the largest single-day collegiate Splatoon event to date, which is absolutely awesome. I again have Popkin had asked me this on the podcast. Like, is this something that I had ever envisioned? And it like yes and no. Like I thought that we could definitely like consistently hit these kind of numbers, but for a 1 day event, I never thought we would be on the cusp of triple digits. But with that said, we do have some division winners that we want to quickly highlight here. So in Division 1, our winner being Ark Halley out of UT Dallas. We will get a chance to talk with them in just a little bit. So stick around for that, folks. PSU Blue and Red Emberz ringing out the top 2 and 3 spots. Then heading over to Division 2, Egg Spaghetti bringing it home for Division 2, followed by Surging Sea and UTK Feeders rounding out that top 3. Over to Division 3, the reigning Division 3 champions from the last CCA League, Long Beach Black, on top once again. New roster, no problem for the Long Beach Black team. And Goomies and PSU, fish. I'm just gonna add a bunch of fishes because they're just that's what they're gonna do anyways. So they're rigging out that top 3 there for Division 3, and then Division 4 dominated by Crab and Go out of the University of Houston, followed by Stingray Incorporated and the NCCS Llamas. So that was a pretty exciting qualifier number 1. So congrats to those that finished on the podium. And even on top of that, we had 2 streams showcasing matches across each division in the Swiss stage. And then we got a chance to cover both the Division 1 and Division 3 single elimination top cuts on stream as well. So if you had missed out on any of that action and want to relive it or see it for the first time, those VODs can be found on Twitch and YouTube. The Twitch VOD I know kind of had some hiccups as well, so we're doing our best to kind of piece that together so that we could get as much viewing out of that as possible.
really good stuff. I mean, just thinking back, like a few years ago, when I just got first exposed to CCA in
Mhm.
general, like I thought I was like back then I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good sized collegiate tournament. I mean, we as a community are fairly small in numbers in the first place, so trying to see like anything like big really isn't really in our normal realm of view. But hitting almost 100 players in just a single day event on your first go around too, I'm just so proud for you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Dark. I mean, I appreciate it. Like, I don't know, and it's awesome that we can get consistent commentators like you all to just invest into some of these storylines. So it's really really cool. I mean, like I know that we talk about the greater community having like consistency branding issues, but with the CCA, that I mean, you have to have some of those consistencies in branding. I mean, we'll talk to UT Dallas in a bit because I have some questions
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
regarding
Mm-hmm.
branding, and they
Mm-hmm.
know what's coming their way. But absolutely, it just makes it so much easier to follow and get excited and get behind, a couple of the teams. I mean, even in that when we were on the mic together, Dark, you were
Mm-hmm.
rallying behind those Texas teams because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, that's
Yeah.
where I'm from. I'm gonna go ahead and rep these folks that share that same space that you did.
I mean, yeah, two of the actual like number one from the qualifiers from two of the two divisions are Texas. So I'm very feeling like high and mighty right now with that under and very like large quotation marks under my wing.
Oh, for sure. Well, speaking of qualifiers, CCA Circuit Qualifier number 2 is the next opportunity for teams to get some points and get on that circuit leaderboard and to start figuring out which division that you're going to be trying to qualify for. So the CCA Circuit Qualifier 2 signups close in a week from now. That is going to be Thursday, October 10th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. The event itself will be on Sunday, October 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so make sure that you all sign up for that because um, we had a really big showing this time. I'm sure that we'll have just as equally as big of a showing again, and there were some crazy upsets, which we will be getting into. There were some just really interesting matches in general, and we also have some great people later that we're going to be talking to hopefully explain some of that from their end as well. But looking ahead at some other events happening upcoming in the collegiate scene, the collegiate scrim circuit uh, is having a new study session through their dual enrollment zones and Rainmaker, and also circuit number 10 upcoming up soon. So dual enrollment zones and Rainmaker from the collegiate scrim circuit will be taking place this upcoming Saturday from 8 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time to provide collegiate teams an opportunity to practice stationary Splat Zone map modes and moving type Rainmaker map modes in a single elimination bracket. And then moving on from that, there's also going to be circuit number 10, which is going to be following a traditional format that most of the other collegiate scrim circuit tournaments and just practice sessions will be following. So be sure to sign up for that if you want to get some practice in ahead of qualifier number 2, or if you just want to get some additional scrim time in if you're a collegiate team. And yeah, that's going to be it for upcoming events, but we do have one more thing we do want to shout out. So, some of you may have been aware that the State of Collegiate Splatoon presentation was supposed to occur last Wednesday. Unfortunately, we had to push it back a little bit. However, we will still be presenting all that exciting information through Krona and Mizuno, who will be hosting this town hall like event to present some of the findings of the State of Collegiate Splatoon 2024 survey on next Wednesday, being October 9th, the 20 of 2024 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I believe. So expect around a 40-minute presentation with a Q&A section at the very end. And this presentation will also be recorded and slides will be posted at a later date for your reference. So that's about all we have for announcements. And without further ado, I think it's about time we start talking about just what happened and just what went down in qualifier number one. So for qualifier one, competing teams were split up into four divisions with two groups of players in each Swiss bracket. And many familiar faces and powerhouse teams were present, both from the Season 5 of the CCA League and Entrance Exam 4. And on top of that, we even saw some new faces as well who didn't have the chance necessarily to play in either of those events. As well as this was the first qualifier, if you ask me, it also presented a pretty strong potential for surprise upsets to go down, as it's been quite a while since we've seen this many teams compete in a single day tournament together before. And even with that, like it even shocked some spectators. Like the matches we were able to stream went down to the wire in a lot of cases. I know that
Hmm.
Division 1, like you had really close matches happening, and then on our sister stream on YouTube for Division 3, also a complete set of also really tight matches where their grand finals went down to a game 5 in like a very tight number of points. So we'll be talking about a little bit of that moving in here in just a moment, but I think it's about time that we start talking about some of the divisions. So I'm actually going to share my screen and we're going to walk through a few of these right here. So give me one moment to get that working. Alrighty. And then, boom. All right. So, DRF, could you go ahead and take us through Division 4, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Division 4 was a really fun division to kind of follow because it's a mix of relatively new teams. It's one of those divisions that it's really hard to get a grasp of because it's like a lot of these folks are not coming in with a lot of experience. They kind of, in their seating information, they put like no experience, S plus. And it, you're kind of scratching your head. You're like, okay, well, we're probably gonna end up putting you in Div 4 because you don't have that experience or anything like that. But the great thing about the circuit format is that we very quickly learn who is more than no experience. And we got to learn that indeed. I mean, as we're looking right now at, I believe this is Group A of Division
Yeah, I
4.
believe so. Yes.
The first group that I want to highlight here is Drexel because they played in 3 split sets in rounds 2, 3, and 4. They got 2 reverse sweeps in round 3 and round 4. Which, reverse sweep is a little bit looser in a play all three, in my opinion, but still, it still constitutes a reverse sweep nonetheless. To finish 3-1, which is a really good result for them. I mean, they had to play in some really tight sets there early on in that Swiss stage, and then set themselves up well for the bracket stage. Ultimately, they didn't, get as far as they would have hoped for in that bracket stage, but nonetheless, it was a very solid showing from them. Uh, and then additionally, the Coyotes blue team out of Cal State San Bernardino, they finished 4-0, 11-1 in those individual games. So they really capitalized on their points opportunity in the Swiss stage. So at least out of Group A here, those were the two teams that stood out to me the most.
Yeah, fair enough. Like both really like strong matchups that did reflect for the most part, I believe, in the respective Div 4 top cut as well. Um, Looking in here though at some of the latter chunk with Ferris State Splatoon, that's another team we wanted to highlight here. They similarly went kind of 3-1 overall in terms of their win-loss rate of the sets. However, they really had to put in work, and to start, they had to go 8-1 through 3 rounds before meeting a perfect grab and go team on stream once they hit the latter half of the tournament. So really tight there as well. And Crab and Go, I think that's the team when it comes down to Division 4. They ultimately won the bracket, but really they just stormed through everyone. Like it meant nothing to them. They had the best performance by far, going 12-0, not dropping a single set that whole time. With, as you can see right here in Swiss, they had an 100% win rate. If we hop over to Div 4 Top Cut, as you can see, top here, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 3-0.
Oh,
They just stormed through everyone. So will they be Div 4 next time? I don't know, but
No.
probably
No.
not.
I'll tell you. I don't even know if they're gonna be Div 3. I'm gonna be real.
That's kind of pushing it too.
Like they really made a case for themselves. There's no other team in Qualifier 1 that went perfect. Perfect in the Swiss stage alone. Like if we talk about just the
Yeah.
Swiss stage, they're the only 12-0 team that exists. The only one. And that is crazy. I mean, honestly, I expected a few more teams to be able to pull off the 12-0 feat, but Crab and Go with the perfect just all the way through, like no other team was even remotely close to having the kind of run that Crab and Go did. And they definitely are going to get promoted to Div 3. I think the better question is, are they going to get promoted to Div 2? Because
If they do
I
a
mean,
similar thing next qualifier, I would like to think they would, at least. Watch,
yeah,
imagine the story, like if Crab and Go somehow started Div 4 and they go to Div 1.
that would be crazy. I mean, but they would never be able to qualify for the Div 1 capstone unless they make the immediate jump there. I mean, they can play in all 5 qualifiers and still end up in possibly Div 1,
Yeah.
and try to qualify for the capstone there. It's gonna be rough for sure. But I mean, this is a newbie team led by a veteran LPS versus S, who's played with Houston teams before. So they're gonna be one to certainly watch out for.
You know what we can also set them up for? We can set them up for to be the only team in CCA history to be able to win a qualifier in each division. Set them up in Div 4. Put them in Div 3 next week. Put them in Div 2 and then Div 1 and see if they can win
honestly,
all 4.
Dark, you might be onto something there. I was gonna say that they might be the only team to make the jump, to make a 2-division jump this circuit. But I'm curious. Like, I would be curious to see which path they would rather have. Would they rather have the unique distinction of making a 2-division jump, or to be the first, folks to try to win multiple divisions? Because I think that they're really set up either way right now.
We let it be known that we in no way, shape, or form rig any of the seedings. Let that be clear. There is no rigging involved. Me myself acting like I'm the one who actually has the seeding.
Well, all of that to say, Crab and Go has impressed a lot of folks early on. I do want to give a quick shout out to the rest of the top 4, because the top 4 from Swiss was the top 4 in bracket. Yeah. So they got the job done. They held that consistency through the entire 4.5-hour event. And I mean, we saw Stingray Incorporated with a strong second place showing. The Llamas, who looked really, really good until they met Crab and Go, and with a dominant third place match finish as well. So they did a fantastic job. And then Coyotes Blue bringing up the rear here in that top 4. So they did a great job. All 4 of them, I think, really have an argument for promotion coming into the next qualifier, whichever qualifier that is next for each of them, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm excited to see all of these teams continue to grow, because they've really left a strong mark early on.
Agreed. But just so we don't get too caught up in the weeds of Division 4, I think it's time we move on to Division 3 here, though. So let's talk about Swiss for a second. So Swiss Group A, I believe. Yes, okay, this is what I want to see. So let's check our standings real quick. So we had the Goomies absolutely dominating within their group of Swiss, going 4-0 set-wise, and getting 12 points on their board here of the Battlefy, and having an overall win percentage of, I believe that's 56. So
no, that's a opponent win percentage.
Oh,
the
opponent win
W
percentage.
percent is their
Okay.
game win
I
percent. So
honestly
they actually
have
went
always thought
11
that
and
was
1.
overall. Okay. No, the more
I
you know.
always think the same thing. I
Yeah.
look at it, I'm like, overall win percentage, and I'm like, okay, so wait, what's W percent? And I have to correct that in my head.
Oh, it even lets you highlight it. Okay, I know I
Yeah.
learned something new. Yay. But yeah, no, Gumi's absolutely dominating, finishing overall 11-1 with and also RIT White Prawns finishing 10-0 in their segment. So going over there real quick just to get a look at what that looked like with the Swiss groups. Um, yeah, right here, another 4-0 in total. So both of those two teams dominating very strongly, with RIT White Prawns being the winners of Swiss stage, in our opinion, because they got their signature wins over the second, third, fifth, and sixth place teams of the overall top cut of our third
No,
division
of their Swiss group.
of their Swiss group.
So
Oh, okay,
yeah,
my bad.
so they actually beat out the Wave Riders, Yukon, Crimson Reef, and Clark Coy.
Mhm.
So they had a pretty tough road in that Swiss stage, and the fact that they beat out all of them to set themselves up for that first place spot in that group is what really impressed me specifically.
Yeah, for sure. Would you mind taking us through Top Cut in that case, DRF?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Omazen, you were the one that got to stream this one, so
Yeah.
you definitely got a good look here.
Oh, I'll
But
have some
just from what I
opinions.
was able to gather on my end, Long Beach Black, it might be a new team, but it's the same identity that this team is absolutely resilient. The reigning Division 3 champions, despite I think only one person on the roster being there from the original division winning team, uh, that was still intact. I mean, this team got the reverse sweep over the
They
Goomies,
did.
who the Goomies looked so good. I mean,
They
Long Beach looked
did.
great as well, but Goomies looked fantastic every step of the way leading up to this specific match. And the Goomies, I believe, even beat Long Beach in the group stage or the Swiss stage. So it was just so good that these two teams are going to be building up this early rivalry. Both have stellar cases to move up to Division Two next time, and they're just going to continue to make each other better. At least that's my personal opinion. But the main thing that I took away from this is that both of these teams are going to be ones to watch. And Goomies, if there was any question about the impact of Fox moving from Goomies up to Big Fat Sea Cows on this team, there I mean, there's an impact, but like I don't think there's any further questions because this Gumi's team is still really dang good.
Oh no, I completely agree. And as the person that was doing the production and streaming for our Division 3 finals, um, like the Goomies, like in particular, what they ended up doing was they brought on a brand new competitive player named Peppermint, and Peppermint, for the most part, seems to only play the NZAP 85. So they run a backless comp with Soda, and it honestly, with the way that the rest of them play, it works out. They typically also have the Crab Heady edit on their team, sort of as a long midline bordering on a backline in some cases if they need it to. And it works out really well in their favor. It's very adaptable. They can rush down if they want to collectively. Peppermint in particular is like an insane, what I like to call battle zap player. Like instead of like kind of taking a bit easier, they're just running at you, and they're getting the picks that they need too. Like they're not going down for nothing. So it was really tight. What ultimately happened during that set, what determined it was a 3 point lead that the CSULB Black barely pushed through right past the podium on Splat Zones, um, on Scorch Gorge, and it was like seeing that on stream because the Goomies were doing a really great job of holding them off when they were trying to push up after they got on their checkpoint, and they just barely slipped by, and that's all it takes. That those few points, that can be the difference between winning a finals and losing finals, unfortunately. And I hate saying it because I'm sure that we've all been in that boat through our own cases here and
Mm-hmm.
there. So, I mean, yeah, mad props to both teams, though. I think that they're both going to really impress us as the season moves on, and seeing some early potential rivalries is also amazing. So, yeah, top cut, Division 3. you guys had us on the edge of our seats.
One thing before we do move on from Division 3,
Yeah.
Goomies. I've said this on stream last week, but I had the pleasure of casting one of your games that has left an impact on me, and seeing your performance here does not surprise me in the slightest. No matter what happens, I will always be cheering on for you because you have a fan right here, right now. Anyways.
Dark, are you hashtag? And I don't know. Am I allowed to say this? Am I allowed?
Go on. Go on.
Are you hashtag edging for Goobies?
I'm not legally obligated to say anything, so I simply request we move on to the second division. If we may.
Yeah, but yeah, I think
Oh,
on that note,
us.
yeah, let's go ahead and look at Division 2, which unfortunately we weren't able to stream like Division 4 this week. However, Division 2 in its own right, like we do have a clip or two to show actually later of some of the stuff that happened in Division 2, I think, if I recall correctly, but they had some really interesting dynamics here, in particular from Swiss in our first Group A. We did want to shout out both UTK and Towson Tigerfish, both of which, Towson Tigerfish, which was able to go 4-0 set-wise, UTK Feeders, which was able to go 3-1. And they were both clearly a step above the rest of their group, as they started 9-0 and 8-1 respectively, before eventually both actually meeting in round 4 of Swiss, I believe. And then WPI Grisco Workers Union Nouveau barely missed top cut by 0.1 opponent win percentage. That's all it took there. And I think you can see that number dynamic right here. It actually, I think that technically is even less. It's more like 0.77 or something like that, or 0.077.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous.
Yeah, so that big rips to them. They just got barely edged out by the tax collectors, who I guess realized it was tax season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So WPI Grisco
And they
Worker
played each other on stream too.
opiates,
Round 1. I think it was round 1 on the second stream. We actually got to see them play each other.
No, that's right. Yeah. No, we did. Yeah, so and if I remember right, WPI like absolutely I in all respect and peace and love obliterated tax collectors.
Yeah. So the fact that WPI they won the battle, but tax collectors said, "Cool, have your W. We'll go in and one up you later on." So tax collectors might have won the war here, despite losing the head-to-head battle.
What an insane dynamic. I don't know. Krona, I'm so sorry.
It is what it is. So we'll see WPI next time, and they'll definitely be able to improve on this performance for sure.
Absolutely. But we also wanted to shout out the Mississippi State Sea Dogs, who had a slow start, and I believe they were in our other group. So let me pull that up here.
Yes, they were in the other group, and
5th place.
I think the interesting thing with them is that they lost their first set 1-2, but proceeded to win out the rest of the way. They went 9-0 in rounds 2, 3, and 4. So it was a bit of a slow start, especially. I mean, they're a brand new team. So this is the first time that we are welcoming Mississippi State to the CCA, and honestly, a pretty solid showing. I mean, Div 2 finishing in that top cut range. So I was thoroughly impressed by them.
Yeah, pretty respectable. I won't disagree. But without further ado, let's take a look at top cut here. And DRF, would you like to get us started here again?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
So with Div 2, this was another one of those where the top 4 from Swiss were the top 4 in bracket, with a little bit of mix-up between, where they were respectively seated. Egg Spaghetti, they picked up right where they left off last season with that massive victory here, going 3-0 over Surging C. And it wasn't an easy path either. I mean, they had to beat out the RIT Orange Kois, the HLG Blue Team, the Towson Tigerfish, and then Surging C. So they had to beat some pretty tough opponents to get there. And on top of that, Egg Spaghetti and Surging C played in round 4 of Swiss, and Surging C won that. Do you know what score that was when in round 4?
I don't recall.
It was 3-0 in favor of Surging C.
Oh, wow.
Surging C dominated that set, and Egg Spaghetti came in and found themselves in a familiar finals territory. I mean, we saw them in the Division 3 finals last season in the CCA League, and they were able to get a very clean 3-0 in response. So, Egg Spaghetti, again, another team that really stood out to me here because to be able to deliver on that performance, getting beat by Surging C your first go around, and then really understanding what it takes to win a final set, I think is what really shown here from them. So,
Yeah.
additionally, though, I do want to talk about Surging C because this is a brand new UNCG team, University of North Carolina, Greensboro. We have veterans JP and Konamic with new additions, Miko Gyat, aka Swisher.
Okay.
Everybody knows them better as Swisher. So they've been a veteran of the Splatoon community for a while now, and I think this is collectively probably the strongest University of North Carolina Greensboro team that we have seen. And they made a very clear case that, hey, we can take that next step up to Division 1. I think that they will get that promotion if I just had to kind of anticipate it a little bit early. So I really want to see what the ceiling is for this Surging C team.
Yeah, wouldn't disagree at all there. I'd also like to take a moment to shout out kind of our third place match here with the UTK Feeders versus Towson Tigerfish, which was a rematch that we saw earlier from Swiss. And after Towson originally won in Swiss round 4 by a score of 2-1, UTK ultimately was able to get their revenge in a 3-1 here in third place. So that's a nice bonus for them. And another situation where we might have a rivalry on our hands, if you ask me. We're establishing
I
these
fully
rivalries early.
agree. Honestly, yeah, I think that's gonna be the fun part about this, especially with the circuit format, is that it's not a one and done when you play your opponents. You're going to see them again. They will haunt you. And the fact that we're talking about the Surging CX Spaghetti, they've already split their sets 1-1. UTK Towson have split their sets 1-1. This is gonna be an ongoing, who's gonna win the season series. Like we talk about all the time in professional sports. So I fully anticipate this being a blossoming storyline between this group of 4 teams in particular, because they played some exciting Splatoon this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. But we only got one more division on our hands here, and I think we should just go head first into it and take a look at what we have here within our Swiss Group A.
Let's
So,
do it.
yeah, Old Bay Brigade, as expected, dominating this group, going 4-0 with a win percentage of 83% here. And Splatlanders not that far behind with the exact same win percentage, but going 3-1. So most likely a tight loss there on their hands. And this was like a particularly very stacked group looking at it again, like in front of me. Ooh.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that we're talking about Old Bay Brigade and Splatlanders and not like Red Emberz
Red Emberz
is
CSULB.
that just goes to show like how one strong this is and how two janky this Division 1 is going to be. Because again, all of these teams are very strong in their own right. I mean, Old Bay Brigade, they came in with some big questions around them. Is this the team that is as strong as they were a year ago? Because we didn't get to see them last CCA League season. They didn't participate. It's been almost a year since we have
That's
seen Old Bay
crazy.
Brigade. And folks weren't sure if this was going to be a team that could hold up as well. And God damn, they shut us all up. I mean, I was so impressed just following along with Old Bay Brigade and Splatlanders as well. I mean, these were two teams that have had insane growth arcs in the past, year to year and a half. And now we're talking about them as top contenders in Division One.
And I think it would be a disservice if we didn't look at Swiss Group B. And as expected, PSU Blue on top. uh, I don't know what you would expect otherwise, but this is a bit more of I think, an interesting division when you're looking at maybe the people that would be in the middle of the pack of Division One as it currently stands right now. Like you have We Aquatic Little Creatures, who's really
Mhm.
been grinding in the off season and has really leveled up. Splatscad Black is in a similar spot overall. They've really been working on their gameplay and their team, and they've gone from Division Two last season in the CCA League to being in a pretty solid spot overall here in the CCA circuit. And then you
Oh,
have some. Oh,
absolutely.
oh yeah, and
No, go ahead.
yeah, no, and then uh, there's kind of a sore thumb here. Um, there's Ark Halley at eighth. What are you guys doing down there? What happened? We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later, but I mean, OmaZen, I mean, like, yeah, look at that opponent win
Yeah.
percentage. 2% was the difference between Ark Halley making a Cinderella run and not even being here in this call with us, and we're going to chat with them real
We would
soon.
have had Oklahoma in the call instead. Maybe. Or it would have been
Possibly.
PSU Blue.
Oh, yeah, it probably would
I
have been
think,
PSU
yeah,
Blue.
I think
Nothing
it was
against
PSU
Oklahoma at all,
Blue. Nothing
but
against
I
Oklahoma,
think
yeah.
But that in mind, Div 1 top cut. Old Bay Brigade immediately falling apart to Ark Halley in a what I would expect was a close set, 2-1. But I'd like to hear both of your both like USPF Dark and DRF, like what your thoughts were as commentators of this particularly too. Just
I
this
mean,
whole set, like
I'll let you
everything.
go to first,
Yeah.
DRF. I'll let you go first.
yeah, I mean, we kept talking about it in between. Like we were kind of like following Ark Halley as
Hmm.
they were going along. We were like, oh,
Hmm.
this is exciting. That we have an upset in round one. And then it just kept going and
Hmm.
going, and every
Hmm.
single time, like Dark and I were checking with the bracket, we're like, damn, they did it again. They did it again. Like, are we gonna get to stream Ark Halley? And they did it. They got all the way to grand finals. They were on the ropes 3 times in a row, 3 game threes in the bracket stage. So they took probably the hardest path that you could ask for to win this dang thing.
Oh yeah, it's like we were checking in between, and just all paper grade. I'm not too familiar with them because you not only did they take a year break, which I don't think I ever had a chance to cast one of their games back in the season prior before this year when they were off break. So I really don't have much data to go off them. But the Division One for a reason. They made it here for a reason because they're that good. So hearing them arcadely a supposed newer team come in and just take them off like round one. I was like, okay, sometimes it happens, right? The set between GMU Patriots, I have a very good friend in GMU Patriots, and so like that was a kind of a contested set for me to like decide which one I wanted to cheer for because Texas or my friendship, and it was an inner battle for me because both these teams I have proper grounds to root for, but hear them take out GMU Patriots, that's when I was like starting to like, okay, wait, maybe they could actually get something going here, get something, achieve something really great, and then seeing them with against them in Red Emberz, it's just like it just. I don't think there could be a storyline built better. Not rigged, by the way. Not rigged, by the way. I don't think a storyline could be built better, even if we did rig it, which we don't. I need to preface that.
Uh, no, you're right. It was a Cinderella run. So I don't think we're gonna see anything quite like this. I think that it was a lot of kind of growing pains for Ark Halley early on that they managed to figure things out as they moved along. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about the run that they had. But nonetheless, Still very impressed, we with the other teams around them. PSU Blue and Red Emberz picking up right where they left off, and Splatlanders continuing their relatively consistent growth arc here, and flirting with the podium. Not quite there yet, but they are a borderline podium team in Division One.
If you ask me, like if there's a team I would pay attention to for the rest of the circuit, or at least for Qualifier 2, based on Qualifier 1, I'm going to be looking at Splatlanders the most because they started in Division 4 when they initially debuted, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Or some no, I think they were like Div 2 and then dropped and down lower and then moved back
oh,
up. So they were
they
all over the
jumped
place.
around a little bit, but the fact that like we're seeing this really strong consistency from them, at least now, it's they were like the loose cannons before, and they made the cannon no longer loose. The cannon is like
Hmm.
bolted into the ground. It's reinforced. They also upgraded the cannon, so it's like
Yeah, that's true.
it's like Farmer's Valley. But yeah.
Good little question mark there for that one.
Hey, you're always trying to upgrade the farm, and just like you're getting the better, the plants and the better equipment, it's just like that. But I'm gonna rest my case.
Well, that was a great overview there of everything that we've gathered for Qualifier 1. But nonetheless, we do have a couple of clips I think that we want to go over, Omazet. Is that correct? And then
Yeah,
after that, we'll be talking with Ark Halley. So stick with us as we proceed into our next segment.
yeah, for sure. So, we did want to highlight some particular moments that were shared with us by community members, and also just really exciting moments that happened during our stream productions as well. So, um, without further ado, I think it's about time we take a look at some of these clip moments in particular. So I'm going to go ahead and get that new screen share properly up and running here. And boom. Okay, so our first clip here was from the Division 4 Round 2 Top Cut match against the NCCS Llamas versus the XxShadowWarriorsxX, a very Xbox 360 Live reminiscent name. Um, but yeah, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at this clip they sent us. So they did note that this player POV is from their player Anarchy from Shadow Warriors, and in this clip, the Shadow Warriors were able to pull off just one push on Clam Blitz from 100 to 0.
Oh, and the fact that they had literally the basket go up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a buck. I clutched there. I was so nervous right there.
It keeps like barely, like almost expiring too. Boom. Taking your time with it. I would be so antsy personally if that were me. Like I'm not playing around. I'm getting that clam in the basket ASAP. Going basically immediately underneath it is a choice. Especially when we're talking the single elim top cut bracket.
Yeah,
Um
what stage was this in?
this was round 2 of Top Cut, Division 4.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So what a way to make a statement there.
yeah.
I would be shaking.
I would be shaking too.
I would be shaking. That's my statement.
Um, we're going to go ahead and run into our second community-provided Discord clip, and this is a match from the Splatlanders, which we didn't really get to see too much of stream-wise this past weekend, but this is from Swiss Stage Round 4, and it is the Splatlanders versus Old Bay Brigade match in particular, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and get us rolling. They did note that this is from their member Wanna Splat, from the Splatlanders, and in the description portion of their whole submission, they said that uh, this clip encompasses right, left, right, left, right. So we're about to find out what that means in particular here.
I think I have a funny feeling with this with umami zones. I think I have a funny feeling what that code might entail.
Oh.
Oh, you got the reef
Wait,
slider intent getting popped on right for the paint.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're barely holding on. Like, no one's dying either. That's kind of an insane, like, match win to their credit there. Wow. Like, note again, like, that was Old Bay Brigade that they just barely were able to edge out holding those zones against. So props to them on that.
Yeah, that was a wild game from what it seems. I mean, being able to that's why two zone maps are fun. Because you get like those
You get
intense,
it. You get it. You get it.
yes, like you get those intense like moments sometimes where like yeah, you have to juggle both zones. It doesn't come very often, but when you get situations like this, it creates for some very memorable moments.
I think that tent
Yes.
choice like saved their butt to a certain extent too. Being able to just it's like a fifth player for like a few
Mhm.
extra seconds.
Mhm.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good way of putting it.
Oh, I love 10 and just throwing it, especially on zone, just throwing it on the zone, let it just leave like a wide ink trail and letting everyone else do the rest and just fill in the blanks. And I got zone now.
No, absolutely. So yeah, those were our community submitted clips, and on that same note, if you play in Circuit Qualifier 2 and you have a funny moment or a really cool moment or any moment that you want to share with us, you can use the new CCA Circuit clips channel that is under all the CCA Circuit section channels, and go ahead and submit something. So highly recommend doing that, and we may feature it on the podcast like we just did with Splatlanders and the llamas. So we're going to go ahead and move on to some particularly noteworthy moments that we as co-hosts wanted to highlight. One moment that I really enjoyed from this past weekend was from I believe it was the top cut portion. Yes, it was the top cut portion of the Twitch stream with Splatlanders playing against PSU Blue in the Division One semifinals match. And this was in particular match one when both teams were 0-0 on umami zones. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead and let it play here, and
Penn State.
we're gonna go ahead and just like see what went down here at the very beginning of this match. We're only like 20 seconds in, just about.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming. It's coming back to me now. Oh yeah, it's coming. It all clicked now.
Uh-huh. No, so um, what I really liked about this part of our matches this weekend was just how Splatlanders was able to steamroll PSU Blue like it was nothing. Um, with even their Dread Ringer player going out of their way to aggressively reef slider into PSU Blue's spawn. And as you can see, like they're doing pretty solid with the lockout. They were able to keep them in their base from about I mean, they're technically still in the base right now, but around the 40-second mark comfortably. And unfortunately for the Splatlanders, as you can see, they're starting to go down a little bit here and there, but to their credit, they are fighting the good fight. Um, but yeah, uh, if I recall correctly, I think what ended up happening was PSU Blue won this game. Yeah,
Yes,
PSU
they did.
Blue
Yeah.
ultimately won that game, unfortunately for the Splatlanders, and there's Dark and DRF again. But yeah, that was I don't know. I just like funny moments like that. It's like you're fighting for your life, which I don't know if that's necessarily funny, but it's definitely exhilarating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just that pressure they were able to put out, like they could have very well made that being 100-0 push or hold, however you want to phrase it. So that's something that really stood out to me from this weekend, and it's just another reason why uh, I recommend y'all keep an eye on Splatlanders. I'm sure many of you after last CCA season were already doing that, but they're a team that I think is going to continue to impress us moving forward.
Oh, for sure. Like I've always had a soft spot for the Splatlanders. And yeah, like that it was a very good opening. Just weren't able to hold on. I mean, and it's against PSU Blue, so you're gonna have to always anticipate all the stops coming out from PSU Blue from start to finish.
Yeah. But we actually have one more clip that was provided by you, Dark, if I believe, right? So
hmm
let's take a peek at what you have to show us here.
40 seconds to
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead
play.
and mute
So
us. Yeah, there we go.
this clip, I think it just really encapsulates like not just the peak of CCA Splatoon and what we have here, but just the peak of Splatoon in general. It's like 20 seconds on the timer. People are scrambling for it to make any plays they get. There's 10 points difference between here. So whatever mistakes are made, that could be lethal for your team. And it so happens that Red Embers manages to capitalize off of that trade situation and get those few extra clams to take lead here. And even though it does go into overtime, Red Embers has no problem of just cleaning up Long Beach Gold here. And I think, like I said, I think this just encapsulated just like peak, like last minute, like you're about to go to overtime Splatoon.
For sure. And they even kept up the pressure again. Like they were
hmm
kind of threatening there, like, hey, we
Yeah.
might build another ball just because it would be a little funny.
Yeah, and it's not just that too. Me and DRF also talked about this on stream too when this happened, but like in the middle of that fight, right before that final power clam went in for Red Embers, there was a little bit of a just like a micro skirmish that pretty much just decided like who the victor was between one member of from Long Beach Gold and two members of Red Embers trying to get that done.
Hmm.
Because like right after this moment, when the two players from Red Embers turns and goes, and Long Beach Gold is starting to hold it, this right here, it's just that micro skirmish here that it
That
just
could have
settled it.
stalled it. Yeah, they could
Yeah.
have gotten the ball holder and at least delay just long enough. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yep.
Peak, it's Peak Splatoon. Like I'm
It
telling you,
is.
it's Peak Splatoon.
It's a game of micro adjustments, and the fact that the second Red Embers player came in and just forced the smallest hesitation out of Long Beach Gold allowed Red Embers to get that victory. And honestly, I'm right there with you, Dark. That was probably one of my favorite moments from
hmm
this weekend as well. It's so good, and there's so much you could gather from just the littlest things.
Yeah, absolutely agreed as well. And I think those clips also highlight just how like exciting a lot of these matches continue to be. It doesn't matter what really division you are. It doesn't matter what teams you're necessarily even playing against. Like you may have
Mm-hmm.
a really old like familiar face like the Big Fat Sea Cow crew, but then you have a new squad of gamers that like this might be their first CCA season or at least or circuit qualifier this and you could have an exciting matchup there that you didn't necessarily expect. So um, yeah, big shout outs to all those gamers there, and glad we could kind of showcase you all here as well through our little clip discussion.
Well, that does take us to our final segment of the evening, and that is what you have all probably been waiting for, our interview with Ark Halley. So, let's go ahead and start to bring them on out here. Ark Halley is one of the newly reinvented UT Dallas teams, coming from one of the earliest trailblazers of collegiate Splatoon. UT Dallas has such a rich history in the CCA, being one of the very few to be represented in all 5 seasons of the CCA League. And now they are back, and Ark Halley has made some noise with their Cinderella run in Qualifier 1. Welcome, Vessel and Lil David from Ark Halley.
All right, let's bring our gamers on. Hello. It's great to have you both on the show today. And like we've kept talking about it here or there and alluding to it, but y'all had an insane like just tournament like qualifier this past weekend. Um, DRF, do you want to get us kicked off here?
Yeah, we'll get to the actual qualifier itself in just a moment, but we do want to briefly talk about UT Dallas because it is, like I said, it's one of the first schools that was here in the CCA, and I don't know if either of you were there at the inception of UT Dallas being in the CCA. I know, little David, you've been around for a little while, but could I guess from your perspectives, can you talk a bit about how the UT Dallas program sort of came to be and its development in the past couple of years?
Um, yeah, I think I have a little bit more to say because Vessel is a little newer. I've been here for longer. So I was not involved in our Splatoon uh, community until around Splatoon 3 launched. I was invited to the Discord server in response to that first trailer actually, but I wasn't really active until Splatoon 3 launched. But even still, I was interested in the CCA when I heard about it for that second season. So I was the substitute for Neo Comet Blasters. Um, you might remember the one set. You might not. And it's been really interesting going through and uh, just going through the league, seeing it evolve over the years. Seeing how the way we play, the way we make teams has evolved also. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess to give a little bit more, you know, um, I started as, because like I said, I started as a sub, and then for was it 2 seasons? I was a member of a team, and then I captained last semester, and then Vessel is captaining now. Um, oof, the phone's getting low battery. It's not good.
No. Well, we'll keep going through this as fast as we can.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I do want to actually kind of turn that question to Vessel as well, real quick. So Vessel, how did you get involved with the UT Dallas folks?
Yeah, similar thing. Around I joined around Splatoon 3 launch, found the server. Uh I wanted to play season 2. I actually missed the tryout deadline. So I didn't play season 2. So I started season 3. Uh Generally I played for Comet Blasters, and then the first season was season 3. We were named Stars of Orion. We're basically Comet Blasters. We just changed our name for fun. And then we changed back to Comet Blasters. And then I know we've had some words about that, but so yeah, I've just been playing for Comet Blasters for the next couple of seasons until this one. That's, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, the some of the history of y'all in particular has been kind of a bit amusing to follow as the CCA has progressed, but it's definitely fun to see some of those change ups here and there as well. But UTD was able to bring last season two different teams, and where your team was called Comet Blasters and your second team was called Ark Halley, and now your team is called Ark Halley. So, can you talk about the name change, and are y'all expecting to have more than one team this circuit?
Yeah, so I think the funny thing is like we usually change our names because if you look at the teams, they're not really it's not like we had the Comet Blasters core for a few years, but that's not really a thing anymore. It's like we kind of split up. We kind of made some separate things.
Sure.
It's not really Ark Haley either. We just like the name, so we stuck with the name.
Yeah.
And we actually have 3 teams right now. We had one in Division 2 and another one in Division 4 as well, which yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Wow, three teams. That's I don't want to think about all the managing for all the times and players to get those practices going and scrims going and whatnot. As an old captain myself, just getting just 4 people together was was already a hassle. So 3 teams by itself, that's a lot. But you mentioned beforehand that the Ark Halley now is a hodgepodge of the older teams from the past. And I did want to ask, when did this version of Ark Halley come together? Like, what was the timeline for that?
I think before the week of, right?
Yeah, it was we got officially the rosters were announced the Sunday night before the and if you want even more, if you want like the continuing how scuffed it was, our first practice was supposed to be the Thursday, and that scrim got canceled on us, so we spent the first half of like our first hour of our practice trying to find a different scrim. And then, and then we played until like for like an hour, and it was pretty late, and then we went to bed before like being able to review anything.
So you all only played together for 1 hour before the first qualifier.
Yes.
I mean, we had
Well, okay.
internal tryouts with all our players, so we had like
Yeah.
we were still playing with each other, but it was nothing like official. It was like always
Yeah.
mixing teams, mixing players, just seeing what worked.
And then of course we also have club meetings, and so a lot of us have already played together before.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's that happens. But at the very least, like you said, you do have those additional opportunities where you've already been familiar with each other and whatnot. Now, on paper, this team can be very scary. I mean, it features you both as, CCA veterans that have played in the past. And now you have, a newcomer in Rose and then another newcomer in Brioche who had formerly played with Smoothie. But, given the wide array of experience on this team, it can also be very challenging to project what this team's potential is. So, like, what was your initial impressions as you kind of gathered this new group of players to play together? And where did you initially see the potential?
I mean,
You can go first. I'll let you go first. I need a minute to collect my thoughts.
Okay. So yeah, so you mentioned previous member of Smoothie. That's pretty good. Like you're just naturally gonna have a pretty big power spike there. And me and David, we've been playing together for a bit. I think I thought we were firmly Div 1. I didn't really know exactly where, but I thought we could definitely compete at that kind of Div 1 level. I've been competing there for a bit to limited success, but I've been there, so I know how it is to play against these familiar teams like PSU. Uh, I've always had trouble with Night Shark specifically. I've always struggled with them, and then like Red
We
Embers
all do.
recently. So
Yeah. I myself was not actually too sure to expect. Like, I knew we had a pretty stacked roster, but I myself have only contributed, or I myself have only played in up to Div 3. I don't remember what Neo Comet Blasters was, but
I believe it
I
was
only
2.
played one. Yeah, I guess so. I've only played one match there though, so vast majority of my experience was Div 3, so I had no idea what to expect.
Experience from all around. I mean, newcomers and veterans alike, especially with just the rich history that does have here in CCA with Comet Blasters, Neo Comet Blasters, Ark Halley, and now Ark Halley 2.0. It's like you guys have a long standing here. And what I would like to personally know, like with all your time here at the CCA, are there any teams that you would consider rivals?
I mean, I mentioned Night Sharks earlier. I hated fighting them. They always felt miserable. But get Billy off the gal, please. I don't want to deal with it.
I've never felt terribly strongly toward it personally, but I know that PSU has been considered a rival, at least among our Splatoon community in general, even if I haven't terribly felt it.
I don't know. I've always had an easier time fighting PSU than Night Sharks, but they've also been relatively difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I think it's also that our two schools just have a ton of history together.
Yeah, the PSU Blue rivalry I think might predate you both, because PSU Blue
I'm
and
almost certain it did. Yeah.
yeah, PSU Blue and the Comet Blasters played against each other twice back in season 1 of the CCA League. And I believe the Comet Blasters beat PSU Blue in a reverse sweep in the third place match.
Right.
So yeah, it runs deep. So I'm glad to hear that that there's still a sense of we hate PSU at UT Dallas. It's been handed down through the generations. Almost that. We'll
Yeah.
hand it over to you.
Yeah, totally. So we've talked about rivalries. We've talked about what Splatoon at UTD kind of looks like, but um, we also wanted to talk about your circuit performance as well. So let's talk about your circuit run and really what a run it was. Going 1-3 and 6-6 in games in Swiss stage, just barely making top cut. Like we went over this earlier if you were listening. You all like could have gotten beaten out by Oklahoma. And
Oh.
like the Oklahoma gamers are probably amazing, but I don't know how I would feel about that. And
Yeah. I mean. Oh, yeah.
no, go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
Like, okay. Yeah. Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I don't think any of us were expecting to make top cut. Because it was because, like you said, or you didn't say this, but we went 1-2 for the first 3 rounds, and then 2-1 for the last. So
No,
it
last
was
round was 3-0.
right
That's why
close.
we made it through. It's because we won all 3.
Yeah, because we won the last one.
Oh, it was a 2-1 on the last round?
I
I think.
believe it was 3-0. I believe it was
Oh,
3-0.
was it 3-0? I thought it was 2-1. I don't remember. Evidently.
Yeah, so I mean, more of the story, we kind of blocked the Swiss out of our head, and we kind of just moved on to
Fair enough.
That's so real.
Understandable. I would do the exact same thing with how it went for y'all, but um let's keep talking about it though. So again, you went 1-3 and 6-6 in games in Swiss stage, barely made top cut, but you were able to take PSU Blue, Husky Splatfield Knights Violet, and Walk to game 3, all while doing that. Into top cut, where again you went game 3 against Old Bay Brigade immediately. You got hit with the final boss right out of the gate, and you barely beat them. GMU Patriots, like another another close game from the looks of it on our scoreboards. Um, and Red Emberz, another very intimidating team, but this time yet another game 3. And heading into finals, you had a rematch against PSU Blue, and you were able to win that time with a 3-1 record overall. And okay, like we just threw a bunch of information you all already knew about yourselves, but let's talk about it. What was your qualifier experience like?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, we didn't really. I guess this starts from me as like the captain, like expectation setting wise. It's like we really just haven't practiced. Like we practiced one day on a canceled scrim, like a last minute canceled scrim.
Yeah.
So I'm just like going in like, hey, we'll shuffle rosters. We'll just like see what works because 5 qualifiers. If we deserve it, we'll make it through the other ones, and we just like run what works. We'll see what works at least because we just see how it works against other collegiate teams and just kind of run Swiss through there. So during Swiss, we were like shuffling rosters a little bit more. I know David had to go get dinner at some point during Swiss.
Second match, I think.
Yeah, so David went to go dinner, and we were just kind of shuffling rosters throughout that entire Swiss process.
Even so, and like, I guess despite the lack of practice, everything still felt super winnable. Which I guess you saw with the with how close the sets were. But like even those games that we lost, I think most of them we barely lost, and there's absolutely an alternate universe where we won a lot of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all could have definitely won a majority of those Swiss sets, and I guess vice versa. It could have been the other way around in
Yeah.
the top cut too, I guess. Um, when you were in those situations, like honestly, PSU Blue, like on paper, looks like it was your easiest match. I'm sure it probably wasn't. But when you were there, like facing Old Bay Brigade right out from the get-go, what was that like?
Hmm.
I
It's
don't know.
hard to
I'm
say.
because I was actually late to the first game because I was in an open match because I honestly didn't think we would bracket.
Yeah, I,
Oh,
I,
unplanned substitution. I was out game one because otherwise it would be too late for the lobby.
yeah, I was playing side order, just like seeing how it goes.
This is insane.
Division One
What?
champions, by the way. Division One champions.
Yeah, so I
Great.
think
To
we
your
kind of
credit,
want.
no, go on.
No, I think we just like we weren't like fully in it like at the beginning because we weren't
Mhm.
expecting it. So maybe that's where the
Mhm.
first game came from. I
Yeah.
honestly don't remember the
Yeah.
OVB set particularly well.
Um, at least for me, I think, um, and this is less the case toward the end, but I think for me, it helped a bit that we were already exceeding expectations by making top cut and doing well against doing well as the last seed against the first was a huge confidence boost for sure.
It gave you a second wind.
It really did, yeah.
So I guess to piggyback off of that, at what point did the whole bracket feel winnable?
Mm.
Um,
I think after the Patriots set because
Mm.
OEB. I mean, we haven't seen them in a while, so maybe there's a little bit of a question mark if maybe we got lucky or maybe like just knowing where they are. It's hard. We didn't
ooh,
know exactly where they are, but we definitely knew where Patriots were
okay,
and their
my camera's
level of.
gonna die very soon. Oh well.
Well, we'll try to keep this moving along. So if we lose you, we'll do our best to see if we can get you back at some point. So just to keep going though, so as mentioned before you went against PSU Blue, like you guys lost to them 1-2 the first time, and then the second go round it was a 3-1 victory. So what was the mentality going into finals when you knew this was ultimately going to be a rematch? Was there any particular adjustments or anything you were looking to make?
I mean, we had momentum. Like that's really like competing. There's so much like there's not there's not really a science behind it. At least in my opinion, you just kind of play your like. We felt like we were doing well. We like during Swiss, we're like at least me. I was like we could have won so much. Like that 1-3 easily could have been 3-1. Like just slightly different, slight changes.
Hmm.
And knowing that and knowing that we're doing significantly better in top cut while we already played them relatively close in Swiss, kind of just like we don't need to be scared. Like sometimes looking at the names, people can get into their own heads, but I think we were at that point we knew we could compete.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the just the track record you guys gone through. That first game in the bracket when you guys would really just flip the script for you guys. And I got just to say real quick, just another congrats to you guys for doing what you did. But just that rocky start in the beginning into just a very relatively like just smooth sailing afterwards. Like what's going to be some of the things that you guys are going to be looking for to improve on? I know you guys touched upon it earlier already, but just more examples of like what you guys want to improve before the next circuit next.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's kind of midterm season right now, so I haven't really talked to many of the other teammates yet. But
Yeah,
I do
That's fair.
point.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
We haven't
been
really talked
a
anything.
bit
I think
tricky.
we have the replay code Sage, so I think we want a VOD review at some point, but
Yeah.
nothing particular. We just kind of let everyone do their thing, like let's celebrate a bit. We celebrated, and then we're like, oh, we gotta go study for these exams real quick, and then we'll
Mhm.
meet up and figure out something later.
Yeah.
So are we
Fortunate.
looking at a 2-hour scrim session instead
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
1-hour scrim
Probably.
session?
we can
Yeah.
double our
Actually,
practice.
that's probably gonna be what we're gonna wind up doing. I believe Vessel's not
Like,
gonna be available to be there for it. But
I think I'm gonna be missing this portion of Circuit 2, so we might get another repeat of what happened again. Maybe
mm,
we'll see.
yeah. Um.
Hey,
And in any case, it will be good practice, especially for Rose, who unfortunately didn't get to see any action in the Cop Cut, but I think they have a lot of potential.
Yeah, they played during our OBB set, but I don't think they got a chance to play after that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of wrapping up some of what happened in your circuit performance in particular. Do you think that this victory will start a new era for UTD to become one of the most formidable teams in the CCA?
Yeah, I think there I think there's a little bit more that we have to say, but I think just organizational wise that we had like a really like this is the first time we had like a really strong freshman class in a bit.
Hmm.
Uh, the most recent one where we actually had like a pretty big influx of players was when Splatoon 3 came out when I was a freshman, and that was 2 years ago. So it's been
Hmm.
a lot of old blood, but with some new blood and a really strong start. There's no saying what could be the future.
Yeah. Because you mentioned it's a really strong freshman class, and that's super good because a lot of the old guard is starting to graduate now. Uh, like I lost my train of thought,
Yeah,
but I'm going to be graduating in December as well. So
yeah.
oh, awesome.
Besides me and David, everyone else on Ark Halley are freshmen.
mhm,
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
so this is kind of a one and done for this particular version of Ark Halley.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Okay, so
I'll be around for like maybe another semester or two, but I'm also on the way out.
gotcha. Wow. Okay, so we really got to make the most of this particular roster here. I mean, that's going to be exciting.
Absolutely.
Um, So I guess just to again touch on a bit of the circuit because you both have played in a number of different CCA events. So I guess what is your guys' take on this new circuit format this semester and what has been different in your approach?
I mean, I've played in circuits before. I had a little bit of experience with SAC. I never qualified for finals, but I've been through the motions of competing in that, so it's not new. I mean, it's like all stuff I've like experienced the league format through Ludi, the circuit through SAC. It's just I don't know, because I think circuits are a little bit more fun because there's a chance to like last minute qualify, but in like a league format, if you go like 0-2 at the beginning, it like you don't want to say it, but you kind of just know in the back of your mind that it's just a little over. You have a little bit less motivation towards the end,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
circuit, if you have the run, you always have the at least the maybe the delusion, but that you can like at the very end make like a super big run, and that always motivates me a little bit at least, just knowing there's at least a chance instead of being guaranteed locked out.
Hmm. Um, as for myself, I was only familiar with the league format. I have not played a circuit before, but so far I've enjoyed it a lot. Um, I was actually thinking about it earlier, but um, I find the circuit format really fun because because of the much greater variety event to event. Like individual events are tiring, or like tiring, but exhausting. They're last weekend we played from 6 to 10 hour time, or 6 to 11 hour time. 5 hours of Splatoon is a lot, but it's really fun. Oh, I think you're losing the camera.
Oops.
That's probably my phone dying.
That's fine.
um, uh, but I really enjoy just having all of those opponents, like the huge variety of opponents, over 4 rounds of Swiss, and then possibly the top cut. I find that really enjoyable over a single 7 game match. So I've quite enjoyed the circuit format so far.
For sure. So, well, thank you guys both so much. I mean, we always love having UT Dallas, consistently as part of these things. So it's awesome to see how the teams make the adjustment from format to format. But nonetheless, we do have one more question for you, Dark.
Well, seeing as CCA is a college group, and colleges tend to keep up with the times, this is my own injection of keeping up with the times. And part of the press is I gotta ask Ark Halley, who on the team would take the 1 block jump for the raw check-in, and who would go for the 1 block vertical for the raw beef?
I have some terrible news for everyone listening. I have not watched a 2-hour Minecraft video.
No, I haven't either. You're not alone. You're not alone.
So
I had to look this up.
I'm only familiar with this meme format, okay? But I've seen enough to know that I would without a second thought take that 1 block vertical for the raw beef.
Yes!
You have no idea how greedy I am.
Yeah, this dude is like Wario's biggest fan.
Independent of that, like I play games so greedy, man. It's great.
I love it. Dark and DRF, what would you do?
I'm going for the raw beef. I have that skill in me. I'm proud to say that I'm a gamer, so I'll take that without hesitation.
Yeah, I have very little context. I guess I would go for the beef.
No, you're gonna fall. You're gonna fall, DRF, with that confidence.
Yeah.
You're going to parkour prison. That's like the hell area of parkour civilization, right? Basically.
Oh, no.
See, in parkour civilization, no one ever goes for the 1 block vertical for the raw beef.
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense.
My goodness. Well, on that note, Vessel, Lil David, thank you both so much for joining us and representing UT Dallas today. Is there anything else last parting thoughts or anything you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I'm still a free agent. I need to find a mid-level team. I haven't found one in a few months, so check out my Sendo. You can find it through my Discord profile in CCA if you're actually curious, but I do want to play outside of CCA a little bit.
Respect.
Big respect. I salute you.
Yeah. Thanks for. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm super glad I was able to be here. Thanks for having me.
Same.
I guess I should probably start looking for a team also.
Yeah, you can put Div 1 champion and you'll find so many teams with that.
Yeah.
just don't specify it's CCA. Just Div 1.
Just say Division 1 champion. And
Division 1 national champion.
Yeah.
Real.
That's the kicker. That's the kicker.
Oh, well, thank you both so much. We wish you the best of luck in the rest of the circuit qualifiers. I'm sure one way or another we'll see you all at the end of the semester as well. So I'm excited to see what else that Ark Halley has in store along with the rest of the UT Dallas teams.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the other two teams have as well, and on top of our own.
For sure.
Yeah, one of the teams is reviewing right now as we speak.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Hey, gotta keep that grind up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you both, and we'll hopefully talk to you all again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right,
All
and
right.
that was Ark Haley. Fun conversation there. Really,
Yes.
really funny, goofy, silly people. Um, and we love to see that. But on that note, we should go ahead, get this episode wrapped up, and go through some closing announcements and notes. So, what comes next? We wanted to once again remind you all and shout out the CSC Circuit, um, which will be having its tournaments both this Saturday and upcoming Monday. So if you're interested in getting some additional collegiate practice in ahead of qualifier number 2, we highly recommend taking a look at those. We also wanted to shout out qualifier 2 once again. So as previously mentioned by DRF earlier, Qualifier 2 signups are going to be closing on Thursday, October 10th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. So that's basically roughly a week from now and some change. So highly recommend getting your sign up in and keeping in mind that for each qualifier event, you will have to, continue to sign up if you're planning on playing in it. It's not like the league to the same extent where you're kind of technically just doing that one sign up. So keep that in mind as we continue to move forward. And then, yeah, we also have the State of Collegiate Splatoon 2024 presentation happening on Wednesday, October 9th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that will be a roughly 40-minute long presentation with a Q&A section at the end, and it will be recorded and posted later for your reference. So, with all those recaps in mind, we also wanted to shout out that episode 25 of the podcast is tentatively scheduled for the same time as this week, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, with the anticipation for Qualifier 2 being at the forefront. So look forward to that. And I think it's about time we do some closing statements. Dark, where can all the good people find you?
Well, you can find me both at Twitter and Twitch at SPF_Dark, where I repost random nonsense from time to time. I stream whenever I can. I'm just all around a happy, just loud guy. That's my bit. That's who I am.
Yeah, for sure. And then DRF, where can everyone find you?
You can go and find me on Twitter at DRF_Splatoon and on Twitch at TritonDRF. But per usual, you can find me right here on the CCA channel covering all things collegiate Splatoon. OmaZen.
Yeah. And you can all find me on Twitter at OmaZen_Monkey and also on Twitch where I sometimes stream tournaments that I play in at just at OmaZen. So, and on that note, I'd also like to mention, I didn't get my word in earlier, that I would go for the beef. I would go for the raw beef jump. I I would do a 360 even.
That's too much.
Okay.
That's too
It's
much.
gotta go for
You
some
can't do
style
that. No,
points.
you
Uh-huh.
can't. No,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Yeah, I can. No,
No.
no. What do you mean,
Well,
no?
No. No.
we'll pull up the screen share right now. We'll find out. Open it up. The Minecraft launcher.
No, where's the predictions? I put some money on that.
Okay, maybe another time. But yeah, it was great having you, Dark, this week as one of our co-hosts. It was an absolute pleasure. Um,
Mine,
and
really.
yeah, no, absolutely. And DRF, always a pleasure to once again handle these episodes with you as well. So, with that all in mind, thank you all for tuning in tonight. It was awesome getting to speak with Ark Halley and talk about Collegiate Splatoon, and we will all see you later. Have a great evening, everyone.